20% today. The 450-page report, not yet made public, cites repeated communal clashes with Hindus historically being primary victims of that communal violence and alleges that some rioters were brought in from outside to incite the violence. Sambal has also seen fresh disputes linked to the Harihar temple with alleged terror networks including Al-Qaeda and Harkat-ul-Mujahideen. Since independence, the town has witnessed 15 major communal riots, shifting its demographics to roughly 85% Muslim and 15 to 20% Hindu.
Would you agree? It points to an orchestrated demographic cleansing of that entire area over the last few decades.
See, definitely in Sambal there has been a demographic change, and that demographic change has been through a conspiracy. It's a very systematic demographic change, and the fact of the matter is that apart from demographic change in Sambal, there are a lot of issues and lot of questions which needs relevant answers as per the constitution. For example, the violence which happened in Sambal during the survey which was carried out by court order on 19th of November and 24th of November, I must tell you that there was a pre-planned conspiracy to eliminate the entire survey team. And I am saying it with lot of sense of responsibility. In Sambal, when we talk about the principles of rule of law, the question is that why there are so many temples which are existing in Sambal and the surrounding areas of Sambal, which were not where the Hindus were not allowed to worship, where 15 riots happened in Sambal, and in most of the riots Hindus were brutally murdered, killed, ethnic cleansing happened, and there were no questions, no inquiry, no justice which was delivered to the members of the Hindu community. So Anand, the question is today, and let me tell you that Sambal has terror links also, which the SIT has found. So the point is that there is a deep-rooted conspiracy which has happened so far as survey is concerned.
Along with the fact that there was a temple that was opened after 55 years where puja was done. Now, how is it that this has escaped the notice of successive governments? Because rights should be equal to everyone. If there has been ethnic cleansing or demographic cleansing, if rights of one particular section of community or society has been marginalized, why is it that this was never brought to the fore? The other thing, Vishnu Jain, you say is that there was serious material threat to life of the surveyors, and that also included you because you were part of that party.
Yes, see Anand, I must tell you that the situation which transpired on 19th of November and 24th of November was very, very serious, and I am saying it with lot of sense of responsibility on your channel. An international conspiracy was there to eliminate the survey team. An international conspiracy was there. Let me be very, very categorical about it. And the idea was that kindly eliminate the survey team, please eliminate the survey team. Instructions were given, WhatsApp groups were formed, and just before the survey on 24th of November, on 22nd and 23rd of November, WhatsApp groups were formed, and the people who are, I don't want to name those people, but you will also understand, those who are in the, you can say a very responsible political party or irresponsible political party, I don't know, they gave instructions. The leaders, the local leaders gave instructions to eliminate the survey team. And apart from that, Anand, the fact of the matter is, why they wanted to eliminate the survey team? Because the fact is that there are a lot of signs of Hindu temple which are existing at the site in question. So the truth must not come out. That's why create an atmosphere of terror so that the rule of law succumbs to the mobocracy.
And I'm joined by my colleague Anshul Singh on the broadcast. So Anshul, some startling revelations coming to the fore in the wake of this report on not just the demographic change in Sambal, but the communal fault lines inside the area, which has been exploited not just by political parties, which we've seen in the past when it comes to any survey pitch, when it comes to the right of Hindus to worship in the area, but at the same time, even the terror elements have permeated the entire ecosystem inside Sambal.
Well, definitely the revelations that have been made by the three-member judicial committee are actually very, very shocking in nature. They have very clearly gone ahead and stated that this entire plan or conspiracy was hatched, in fact, days in advance, as was just being said by Vishnu Shankar Jain as well, that this entire conspiracy was hatched days in advance to the extent that people were called in from different districts in and around Sambhal to carry out these riots on the 24th of November. Not only this, but the conclusive report that has now been submitted very clearly goes ahead and states as well that there were at least 64 pilgrimage sites in Sambhal and more than 18 holy wells in Sambhal that were taken away from Hindus in a very, very systematic manner just for the sake of appeasement politics. Not only this, but also there has been a massive demographic change. For example, in 2017, the demography that was existing in Sambhal was 55% Muslims and 45% Hindus. But since 1947 till 2019, there have been 15 riots that have happened over there, and due to these riots, the demography has changed significantly, and now the demography that is present over there is 85% Muslims and 15% Hindus are just left in Sambhal. So this is something that has been mentioned there as well. Apart from this, as you rightly mentioned, the terrorist angles have also very clearly been mentioned, that how US designated terrorists are actually belonging from Sambhal. Not only this, but commander of Lashkar-e-Toiba was also arrested from Sambhal as well, and that has also found its way into the report. Apart from this, the report has also made a very startling revelation that Sambhal is still a breeding ground not only for terrorists, but also there are illegal and illicit activities such as illegal trade of weapons and drugs that is happening in Sambhal at this point in time as well. Now, this comprehensive report has been submitted to the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath. Now, it remains to be seen what kind of action would be taken by the UP administration to make sure that all these issues that have been earmarked in this two-part report, that can be resolved and people of Sambhal can actually live without the fear of deteriorating law and order.
Right, but at the same time, when it comes to the law and order situation inside Sambhal, Anshul, can you decode for us the game plan when it comes to the authorities over there, given the fact that the communal fault lines remain? And as per this report, this has been there for such a long time that the communal tensions in that area have pretty much embedded themselves into the social fabric of Sambhal. So what is the game plan going forward, given the startling revelations coming in from this report?
Well, the game plan, as we have seen over the last 10 months since the time the incident has happened, the focus of the administration is to be sure that they remain fair, and all these discrepancies or all the illegal activities that have happened against Hindus, that can be undone in some way or the other. And that is the reason why we have seen that several wells that were taken away by politicians and were given to the Muslim side, those wells have now been reclaimed by the Hindu side. Several temples that were shut down in the temple town of Sambhal, those temples have also been reclaimed, and now they have been handed over to the Hindus in the area as well. Now, the focus of the administration is to also is to also resolve the entire issue of the mosque in Sambhal, which was the center point of the entire law and order situation that broke down over there, or the communal riots that had happened over there on the 24th of March. For that, as 24th of November, for that as well, the administration is trying to make sure that each and every legality that is in front of them, the courts that are hearing these matters, that can also be done at a much higher pace, so that relief can be given to either of the parties in this case as early as possible, because that mosque is still the center of all the issues, all the communal issues in Sambhal, and hence the administration is now trying to focus that this issue is resolved at the earliest, so that whatever decision comes out from the courts, that can be implemented on the ground and this issue can be settled for once and for all.
Right, thank you, Anshul, for decoding that for us. Let's listen into more reactions coming in as the reverberations of this entire report about the communal fault lines, as well as the influx of terror elements into Sambhal, raises alarm across security agencies.
ये बात किसी से छुपी हुई नहीं है कि आखिरकार किस तरह से हिंदुओं को एक बार नहीं अनेक बार हिंसा का शिकार इन इस्लामिक जिहादी तत्वों ने बनाया। और 1947 में जब देश स्वाधीन हुआ, तब से लेके आज तक 1947, 1948, 1953, 1958, 62, 76, 78, 80, 90, 92, 95, 2001 और 2019 में कुल मिलाकर लगभग 15 बार हिंदुओं पर प्राणघातक हमले किए गए। और अनेक हिंदुओं की जान ले ली गई और बड़ी संख्या में हिंदू वहाँ से पलायन को मजबूर हुआ। यही कारण है कि जहाँ लगभग 50% हिंदू थे उस संबल के अंदर, आज वो 15% भी नहीं बचे।
देखिए, इस तरह की फजूल बातें जानबूझ के फैलाई जाती हैं, ख़ास तौर पर योगी सरकार की ओर से। ये जो कमेटी बनाई थी, योगी सरकार ने बनाई थी, तो योगी सरकार जो कहेगी वही कमेटी रिपोर्ट देगी। तो इन तमाम रिपोर्टों के पीछे, ये इस पूरे एक्सरसाइज के पीछे मकसद यही है कि किसी तरह हिंदू मुस्लिम डिवाइड हो, हिंदू मुस्लिम के बीच में नफरत और घृणा बढ़े। मकसद ये नहीं है कि दंगा हुआ है तो वहाँ शांति हो, वहाँ आपस में भाईचारा हो, फिर से लोग आपस में मिलजुल कर रहें। ये उद्देश्य इस कमेटी का नहीं था। कमेटी का उद्देश्य यही था, इसीलिए बनाई गई थी कि वो फर्दर आगे उसको कैसे और बढ़ाया जाए।
जी, ये जो संभल में जो घटना हुई थी, इसके जांच के लिए जो प्रदेश सरकार ने जो न्यायिक आयोग गठित किया था, आज उन्होंने अपनी रिपोर्ट माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी को सौंपी है और उस पर आगे की कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
कई सारे बिंदु हैं उसमें सर, तो क्या
रिपोर्ट के अध्ययन करने के बाद ही हम इसके बारे में बात करेंगे।
And big breaking news coming in amid the Trump tariff storm. What we are learning is that the former CIA director and veteran diplomat William Burns has issued a scathing letter accusing the Trump administration of waging a war on public service as well as expertise through politically motivated purges of career officials. In this letter, William Burns described watching the US State Department employees leave their posts in tears following staff reductions in July, calling the dismissals a campaign of retribution rather than genuine reform, is the big pitch that's coming in from William Burns. Strong statement against the purge across the Trump administration in key departments as part of a cost-saving measure which came under DOGE. And I'm joined by my colleague Akanksha Swaroop on the broadcast. So Akanksha, a former CIA director, a top member of the intelligence community, issuing a scathing letter against the Trump administration. We don't hear much about DOGE and its benefits when it comes to the Trump administration's outreach to the entire nation as well as their PR exercises. But William Burns over here highlighting the damage that has been done for partisan politics through Elon Musk's entire purge of departments under the Trump administration.
Absolutely, Ayushman. This is also because Donald Trump currently is busy tom-tomming his achievements through the tariffs that have engulfed the entire global economy. But most importantly, to expose the plight of US and its own economy, you have William Burns, the former CIA chief, going on record to pen that letter in which he's made some scathing revelations where he talked about how the tribute to the dedicated career servants has been, in fact, completely stripped away. They have been fired rather or pushed out. It's also a sharp indictment of the administration that, and he's argued that they, in fact, deserve better, and this is rather gleeful indignity. He's also argued that the recent reduction in forces is not a good faith effort at sensible reform. Instead, it's an act of retribution and a war on public service and expertise. He's also spoken about stifling dissent under Trump's regime. It's a core argument that's come from Burns that punishing dissent and demanding absolute loyalty creates a system like autocracy where leaders are not given honest advice and they end up making catastrophic errors. It's extremely significant given that the United States tom-toms itself for being the harbinger of democracy, for being the protector of democracy and human rights, and they take jibes at other countries like Russia and China. And so Burns has also spoken about how a healthy government requires experts who can offer candid or contrary insights. We all know that what's happening to John Bolton, who's been a fierce Trump critic, but he was also part of the previous Trump administration. There have been FBI raids only because he did not agree with Trump's policies. He's also spoken about weakening America's competitive edge. He's warned about how hollowing out institutions, primarily like USAID, Voice of America, that's all by cutting research funding is a form of strategic self-immolation and greater power suicide. He's also spoken extensively about enlightening self-interest. He argues that U.S. success has historically come from balancing hard power with soft power, because remember, US also happens to be one of the oldest democracies, and according to William Burns, this is now being demolished. The real threat is a weak state. The threat to America is not a deep state, but a weak state, one with hollowed out institutions and demoralized public servants. And an oath to the Constitution doesn't mean that it should be a precedent. He reminds public servants that their oath is to the US Constitution and the American people, not to a political party, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans. They are not answerable only to the US President. He's also warned for the future, saying that the letter, in fact, is just a reminder that the actions that we are witnessing in US bureaucracy and administration are causing generational damage, potentially leading to a self-inflicted generational setback to American leadership. So most importantly, from the India perspective, remember, Ayushman, William Burns has highlighted how Donald Trump is also leading an authoritarian administration, one which is also spilling over to their US foreign policy, something that is amply evident and is bearing testimony in the way he's challenged or rather changed the entire global trading order.
Right, thank you, Akanksha, for decoding that for us. And this comes as the Trump administration is also facing a manpower crunch as well as an expertise crunch in the wake of Elon Musk's purge of several departments as a cost-saving exercise. But as William Burns is pointing out, career officials and a lot of expertise, not just in the areas of diplomacy, but even in the areas of health and manpower management, the Trump administration now struggling to find people to fill those posts after that purge which came in from Elon Musk's Doge department. We're shifting focus to some more breaking news that's coming in. According to a Bloomberg report, Chinese President Xi Jinping wrote a secret letter to Indian officials amid the Trump tariff showdown. Xi's letter raised concerns about any US trade deals that would harm China's interests, helped pave way for improved Beijing-Delhi ties is the pitch that is coming in from this Bloomberg report, where it seems that the Trump tariff storm has led to this new power dynamic between India and China, where China is looking to India not as an adversary, as we saw after the Galwan clash, but as someone to partner with to weather this entire storm, to create a stable economic order in Asia, is the pitch that's coming in from this Bloomberg report. And I'm joined by my colleague Anand Narasimhan on the broadcast. So Anand, clearly this indicates what we've been seeing, the signs in the past few weeks, where China now wants to partner with India to weather this entire storm, pretty much create that kind of alliance within the BRICS nations to take on this mercurial economic policy coming out of the Trump administration.
Good evening, Ayushman, and to our viewers. Should direct your attention back to a tweet or a post on X by the ambassador of China to Bharat, Zhou Feihong, on the 1st of April 2025. That's when there was confirmation that President Xi Jinping had written to President Draupadi Murmu. So the exchange happened between the presidents of the two nations, and it was initiated, as Bloomberg has reported today on the 28th. There is confirmation of this from about 3 months back. And what we are given to understand is at that time itself, Xi Jinping had made the first overture to try and signal a thaw between the two neighbors, given what Trump's attitude was. And at that time, remember, in April, Bharat was not in the eye of the storm as much. There was talk, and 2nd of April, there was some negotiation, and there was an additional tariff rate of 10% that was added. But it was China which was seeing about 145% tariff being imposed on it. And there were things were really getting wishes between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping. But at that time, China had already foreseen that Trump's tariff war could snowball into a huge regional escalation, and perhaps the first indication coming in from the Dragon. Now, the report by Bloomberg, but more importantly, if we were to go back to revert to that tweet by the China ambassador to Bharat, Zhou Feihong, also talks about the fact that they are two ancient civilizations and there is a civilizational relationship that needs to be underlined and also perhaps enhanced further, saying that both sides should view and handle China-Indian relations from a strategic and long-term perspective and seek ways for neighboring major countries to get along in a peaceful coexistence, mutual trust and mutual benefit and common development and jointly push forward multipolarization and democracy in international relations. Now, this is what, and then he's further written there that President Xi expressed his readiness to work with President Murmu, taking the 75th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between the two nations as an opportunity to promote strategic mutual trust, strengthen exchanges and cooperation in various fields, and further on. Perhaps the biggest hint that was dropped, saying that China is willing to try and reduce the hostilities and the barriers that had been pushed post-Galwan between the two nations and to try and engage in a more constructive manner. Now, Bharat took its time. It was only by about June that Bharat's response and this engagement and this letter to President Draupadi Murmu, the rapprochement and the mood of the Chinese was also communicated to Seven Lok Kalyan Marg. So Prime Minister's office and Prime Minister Narendra Modi was also made aware. If you were to recall, at that time, around the same time, there were a series of meetings and calling-ons which happened between the two leaders, between the President's office, the Prime Minister's office, the Home Minister, and also the Foreign Minister and Rashtrapati Bhavan. So all of that perhaps now falls into place, saying that there were indications that had come from the Chinese, let's talk, let's settle matters. And then thereafter, Wang Yi meets Dr. Jaishankar, Ajit Doval travels. There is an engagement on the sidelines there. So slowly the engagement started building, and suddenly we see acceleration towards a normalization, or perhaps getting into a settled equation where we are neither friends nor enemies, but what we do is we cooperate, compete and collaborate where required. And I think that is an equation which Bharat is willing to understand, especially if certain pain points in terms of the border are also arrived at towards a settlement, and there is a long-term discussion. The fact is that the Chinese are in for the long game. Bharat also needs to see the long game. And in the near term, Bharat needs a certain level of support and trade with China, especially when it comes to small tech, when it comes to APIs and other critical, metals, critical imports which are required to fuel Bharat's growth story. So this is something which perhaps President Trump has been able to achieve, where he's put two nations.
Diplomatic and economic reset when it comes to the global south and the order in which India can take the lead. Thank you, Anand, for decoding that for us. But Indian exports to the US, let's talk about the Trump tariff storms. It's a steep 50% tariffs on over half of $87 billion in trade, a move that Delhi has called unfair. The Finance Ministry warns of long-term impacts and plans urgent talks while the government extends cotton import duty exemptions till the 31st of December this year and launches outreach programs in key textile markets to support exporters. Now, reacting to the US pressure, Russian diplomat Boris Gershunov said Europe's conflict may end by the end of the year and praised India for its principled stand on Russian oil, noting that Trump's approach is more media-driven than a shift in Western policy. Meanwhile, the US House Democrats criticized Trump for singling out India, saying it harms Americans and strains US-India ties.
Look, it's real easy. India can get 25% off tomorrow if it stops buying Russian oil and helping to feed the war machine.
Not sending that signal.
They're not. And look, here's the thing. I'm puzzled, okay, because Modi's a great leader. These people this is a mature democracy with intelligent people running it. And they look us bald-faced in the eye on the tariff part and say, we don't have the highest tariffs in the world, when in fact they do. There's no dispute about that if you look at the numbers. And then they say, we're not going to stop buying Russian oil. Now, what does that mean? I mean, we've talked about this, but it's worth talking to your viewers again. When India buys Russian oil at a discount, and then Indian refiners in partnership in India with Russian refiners make that and sell it at a premium to the rest of the world, right? Russia uses the money it gets to fund its war machine, kill more Ukrainians. And then the next thing that happens, of course, is Ukraine comes to us and Europe and says, give us some more money. So everybody in America loses because of what India is doing. The consumers and businesses and everything lose And workers lose because India's high tariffs cost us jobs and factories and income and higher wages. And then the taxpayers lose because we got to fund Modi's war, okay? The road to peace runs at least partly right through New Delhi.
War?
I mean Modi's war.
Let me ask
because
you
the road to peace runs in part through New Delhi.
Today, can you talk about what the negotiations look like? It seems like there's been a stall. We heard from Secretary Bessent this morning, who said that this relationship is complicated.
It is a complicated relationship, that it's integrated some with the problems that we're trying to put extra pressure on Russia so that we can get a peace deal to save millions of lives, and the Indian intransigence about opening their markets to our products. And so I think that when you're looking at trade negotiations, one thing I think we've all learned is that you need to keep your eyes on the horizon and recognize that there are going to be ebbs and flows in things before we reach the final position.
This is Kamalika from CNN News 18. My question is, since Australia does not believe in such tariffs, how Australia is dealing with the US tariff thing, and how Australia sees the recent tariff war that is going between India and US?
Yeah, look, we're a country that believes in free and fair trade. We believe that the best way of ensuring prosperity for our workers and our country is to continue with free, fair and open trade. So we don't support the imposition of tariffs, whether they be on Australia or India. Obviously your relationship with the United States is something for you to work through. But only this week I've met with officials of the United States government to make it clear that our view that the 10% tariff that we've imposed on Australia is not the right way to go, and that we will continue to push our argument that the American government should remove those tariffs.
And that's the latest on the diplomatic and economic flux in the wake of the Trump tariff storm. We will continue to track all the developments coming in. For now, quick break. More news and updates on the other side.
Three powerful leaders, one agenda: countering American hegemony and recalibrating global order.
As Prime Minister Modi heads to China for the first time in 7 years, all eyes in the world turn to Tianjin.
CNN gets you an inside view with the most insightful voices
and the most influential views.
Watch Network 18's mega coverage on CNN News 18.
The summit of the year from Tianjin, China.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Right now, is there a potential for a deal to change that number?
Look, it's real easy. India can get 25% off tomorrow if it stops buying Russian oil and helping to feed the war machine.
Not sending that signal.
They're not. And look, here's the thing. I'm puzzled, okay, because Modi's a great leader. These people this is a mature democracy with intelligent people running it. And they look us bald-faced in the eye on the tariff part and say, we don't have the highest tariffs in the world, when in fact they do. There's no dispute about that if you look at the numbers. And then they say, oh, we're not going to stop buying Russian oil. Now, what does that mean? I mean, we've talked about this, but it's worth talking to your viewers again. When India buys Russian oil at a discount, and then Indian refiners in partnership in India with Russian refiners make that and sell it at a premium to the rest of the world, right? Russia uses the money it gets to fund its war machine, kill more Ukrainians, and then the next thing that happens, of course, is Ukraine comes to us and Europe and says, give us some more money. So everybody in America loses because of what India is doing. The consumers and businesses and everything lose, and workers lose because India's high tariffs cost us jobs and factories and income and higher wages. And then the taxpayers lose because we got to fund Modi's war, okay? The road to peace runs at least partly right through New Delhi.
Putin's war?
I mean Modi's
Okay.
war.
Let me ask you
because
this.
the road to peace runs in part through New Delhi.
Now, going back to my colleague Siddhant, Siddhant, it seems to be confusion there. You know, we just heard Peter Navarro's statement there. Earlier, of course, we were listening to the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying something else. He was saying that, India and US will come together eventually. He was showing that optimism in that. And now you have Peter Navarro going completely opposite to it, calling it Modi's war.
Well, that's right. So we were discussing before, Arun, that they are frustrated because they couldn't stop the war. There have been a lot of efforts given by President Trump to bring President Putin to the tables and, to get a ceasefire or to get the war stopped, but he couldn't. So now what they're doing is, and also they're not liking the fact that India is withstanding its ground. India is not stuck up to the demands of the administration by opening the markets for the agri and dairy products. Perhaps that's what they have been asking for. So, it's kind of a double frustration. One, they couldn't stop the war in Ukraine, and the second, they couldn't get from India what they were expecting. And in fact, as you rightly said, yesterday Scott Bessent also said that India came early. We were expecting deal with India by May or June, but it couldn't happen. But Scott Bessent was measured what he said yesterday, and in fact he said that India is largest democracy. We are the largest economy. Perhaps one day we will come together. So but what Peter Navarro has said, perhaps calling it a Modi war, I expect that there's going to be.
And welcome back to the Nation at 5. The row over the Mysuru Dasara festival is only intensifying. It began with BJP MP Pratap Simha opposing Booker Prize winner Banu Mushtaq's selection to inaugurate the festivities, calling it against the festival's religious spirit. Now, Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar then stoked the debate, saying that Chamundi Hill belongs to everyone and not just Hindus alone. Soon after, Yaduvir Wadiyar, MP and scion of the royal family of Mysore, stressed that Dasara is a dharmic celebration rooted in the worship of goddess Chamundeshwari. And now another erstwhile royal family member, Pramoda Devi Wadiyar, has expressed deep dismay at political interference, rejecting claims that the temple is not Hindu, while underlining that the royal family continues its centuries-old rituals in private.
Dasara prayer is been offered by everyone. Everyone participated in it. It is our Indian culture. Ultimately, it is a constitution. And Chamundi Hills is a government temple. It is not a private temple. It is a government temple. It is a government temple, and government is open to all sections of the society.
We are not having any issues that one Muslim lady is going to inaugurate Dasara. But our only issue here is, see, she being a lady, she is a very good writer. She has got a Nobel Prize, I think, the Booker Prize. So all these things we really appreciate about that lady. But one thing which recently took place, as we all know, about Tai Bhuvaneshwari, the way she had stated she's having certain reservations on that. Socially, many people have come out doing many good things for the society. Maybe you could have opted for other people also, but you cannot just wave off by telling it is an old video.
And I'm joined by my colleague Harish Upadhyay on the broadcast. So Harish, given the sentiments surrounding the Dasara festival and especially hailing goddess Chamundeshwari, is the Congress digging itself into a deeper hole?
Well, what has really embarrassed the Congress is this old video of Banu Mushtaq where she's speaking at a literary event. And the state flag is red and turmeric color. In a way, kept her and several people like her away from Kannada language. Now the BJP says if this is the sentiment that Banu Mushtaq has, how can we accept the fact that she'll now come and inaugurate the Dasra, where she will have to do Pushparchana or offer flowers to the same goddess Chamundeshwari at Chamundi Hills. And this despite the fact that Banu Mushtaq has made it very clear that she respects goddess Chamundeshwari and the whole Dasra festival and ritual. But the BJP says her stated view is out there, and this was said at a literary event by her, by Banu Mushtaq herself in a speech. So how is this now acceptable for all the followers or people who believe in Chamundeshwari?
Right, and any tussle within the Congress camp, given the fact that these kind of issues tend to create divisions within the Karnataka unit of the Congress party. So any dissent notes emerging from within the Congress camp?
Well, at least so far, the Congress has remained very united on backing Banu Mushtaq being invited to this inauguration. Nobody has come out of turn and spoken about or challenged this decision of the state government. We've seen all of them backing this decision, saying that Banu Mushtaq is somebody who's brought a lot of laurels to Karnataka, the language of Kannada, and it was right on part of the Chief Minister and the government to invite her to inaugurate the Dasra event.
Right, thank you Harish for decoding that for us. So we will continue to track all developments coming in from Karnataka as this controversy continues to escalate. But the Congress party, despite the outrage, refuses to budge. We're going to take a quick break now. More news and updates on the other side.
Brought to you by This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Right now, is there a potential for a deal to change that number?
Look, it's real easy. India can get 25% off tomorrow if it stops buying Russian oil and helping to feed the war machine.
Not sending that signal.
They're not. And look, here's the thing. I'm puzzled, okay? Because Modi's a great leader. These people this is a mature democracy with intelligent people running it. And they look us bald-faced in the eye on the tariff part and say, we don't have the highest tariffs in the world, when in fact they do. There's no dispute about that if you look at the numbers. And then they say, oh, we're not going to stop buying Russian oil. Now, what does that mean? I mean, we've talked about this, but it's worth talking to your viewers again. When India buys Russian oil at a discount, and then Indian refiners in partnership in India with Russian refiners make that and sell it at a premium to the rest of the world, right? Russia uses the money it gets to fund its war machine, kill more Ukrainians, and then the next thing that happens, of course, is Ukraine comes to us and Europe and says, give us some more money. So everybody in America loses because of what India is doing. The consumers and businesses and everything lose, and workers lose because India's high tariffs cost us jobs and factories and income and higher wages. And then the taxpayers lose because we got to fund Modi's war, okay? The road to peace runs at least partly right through New Delhi.
Putin's war?
I mean Modi's war.
Let me ask
because the road to peace runs in part through New Delhi.
Now, going back to my colleague Siddhant, it seems to be confusion there. You know, we just heard Peter Navarro's statement there. Earlier, of course, we were listening to the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying something else. He was saying that, India and US will come together eventually. He was showing that optimism in that. And now you have Peter Navarro going completely opposite to it, calling it Modi's war.
Well, that's right. So we were discussing before, Arun, that they are frustrated because they couldn't stop the war. There have been a lot of efforts given by President Trump to bring President Putin to the tables and, to get a ceasefire or to get the war stopped, but he couldn't. So now what they're doing is, and also they're not liking the fact that India is withstanding its ground. India is not stuck up to the demands of the administration by opening the markets for the agri and dairy products. Perhaps that's what they have been asking for. So, it's kind of a double frustration one, they couldn't stop the war in Ukraine, and the second, they couldn't get from India what they were expecting. And in fact, as you rightly said, yesterday Scott Bessent also said that India came early. We were expecting deal with India by May or June, but it couldn't happen. But Scott Bessent was measured what he said yesterday, and in fact, he said that India is largest democracy. We are the largest economy. Perhaps one day we will come together. So but what Peter Navarro has said, perhaps calling it a Modi for I expect that there's going to be a very sharp reaction coming from New Delhi on this statement of Peter Navarro calling Ukraine conflict and Modi's war, because the fact is that China is still buying Russian crude. Europe has been buying Russian crude and energy from last 3 years. Since last December, there was an agreement, and the gas was being supplied, and it was Russia that was paying Ukraine to use the gas pipeline. The United States itself has been importing a lot of things from Russia. Then why only targeting India being targeted? Why only going after?
Welcome back, and more breaking news coming in on the political front. Addressing the Foundation Day event of the Trinamool Congress Party Chief and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has said that the BJP is conducting a survey by bringing a 500-member team to delete names from the electoral rolls. Don't share your documents with them is the pitch coming in from the West Bengal Chief Minister, because they're planning to collect your documents and remove your names from the voter list. Just take an Aadhaar card because it's a mandatory ID proof, is the statement coming in from Mamata Banerjee. As within the opposition camp, it seems that all the parties feel that the SIR exercise currently underway in Bihar will then shift focus to West Bengal, which is also headed for the assembly elections. And Mamata Banerjee already raising the alarm when it comes to the assembly elections in West Bengal, as well as the entire vote chori campaign that has been started by Rahul Gandhi. The TMC also putting its weight behind that entire campaign to target the BJP when it comes to the West Bengal assembly elections, saying that the same strategy to disenfranchise voters will take place in the state of West Bengal. Stunning charges coming in from the West Bengal Chief Minister. I'm joined by my colleague Pallavi Ghosh on the broadcast. So Pallavi, it seems the TMC at first, when it came to the vote chori allegations surrounding the Maharashtra elections, was very apprehensive about putting its feet into the water, if you will, when it comes to the charges which came in from Rahul Gandhi. Abhishek Banerjee also said that the process must be trusted. But with the elections now around the corner, they are putting their full weight behind this entire vote chori campaign.
See, because there is a genuine fear within the Trinamool Congress and Mamata Banerjee that after Bihar, the next SIR exercise is going to be carried out in West Bengal. And in fact, the issue of illegal immigrants who are coming in from the porous border with Bangladesh has been repeatedly raised by the BJP, both at the state and at the central level, saying that much of the benefits of the central government to the state and of the state government were going not to the original Bengalis, but it was going to people who were coming in from Bangladesh. And how fair is that? The second is that they have always consistently blamed Mamata Banerjee of deliberately allowing the Bangladeshis to cross over, because that's her core vote bank, and she's using them to come back to power repeatedly. Now she feels, and this is the strategy of the TMC, that one, you're targeting people who are from Bengal under the guise of them being Bangladeshis or illegal immigrants, which means the genuine vote bank of Mamata Banerjee could slowly be eroded. And the Trinamool Congress, Ayushman, is apprehensive that this could have a deep impact as far as the electoral chances are concerned, which is why she's built up this narrative of one is the Bengalis and Bangla speaking who have been attacked, and second, if you show your papers, the BJP team which comes from the center is going to use it to distort the reality and throw them out, as a result of which it's her vote bank which is going to be hurt.
Right. At the same time, but Pallavi, given the fact that Mamata Banerjee has seen only success after success when it comes to electoral battles in West Bengal, can they mount as effective a campaign at the state level as compared to Rahul Gandhi?
Well, see, the Congress doesn't have much of a standing in West Bengal. So if anyone who's been aggressive on this, it certainly has been the TMC. And while the Trinamool Congress never stood by the Congress in the Maharashtra and on the Haryana issue because they felt it sounded like a loser, but they saw what is happening in Bihar. So they feel that this is something which could hurt them possibly in Bengal. During the monsoon session of Parliament, Ayushman, the Trinamool Congress certainly took the lead. In fact, they were the first parties who had decided they are not going to be a part of the Joint Parliamentary Committee, which is going to look into 3 constitutional bills, because they feel that this is a party which is using the constitution rather than misusing the constitution to start attacking the original Bengalis. And therefore, I think she certainly in Bengal would take a lead on this campaign.
Right, thank you, Pallavi, for decoding that for us. So it seems the SIR showdown also headed to the state of West Bengal. Shifting focus to some more news that's coming in when it comes to the situation in Assam and the pitch that has come in from Himanta Biswa Sarma. Himanta Biswa Sarma has said that land transactions will now be categorized even when it takes place under the notion of faith. Now, what we are learning is that the Assam cabinet has said that it has laid down a standard operating procedure for land transactions between people of different religions. Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma has said that under the new rules, if a Hindu sells land to a Muslim or a Muslim to a Hindu or to someone from another faith such as Christianity, Buddhism or Jainism,
कोई भी तकनीक आती है तो उसका मनुष्य के हित के लिए उपयोग करना, अगर उससे कुछ दुष्परिणाम होने वाले हैं तो उन दुष्परिणामों से बचना और बचाना, यानी तकनीकी के मालिक मनुष्य बने रहे, तकनीकी मनुष्य की मालिक न बन जाए। पुराने जमाने में कहते थे कि पहले लाठी पहलवान घुमाता है, बाद में लाठी पहलवान को घुमाती है। आज हम कैसे हैं कि पहले मोबाइल हम सुनते हैं, आजकल मोबाइल हमको सुनाता है। तो ये न हो, इसीलिए शिक्षा आवश्यक है। अशिक्षित हाथ में पड़ जाए तो सारा ज्ञान का क्या दिशा लेगा बता नहीं सकते, उद्ध्वंसक हो सकता है। सुशिक्षा यानी केवल लिटरेसी नहीं, एजुकेशन यानी केवल स्कूलिंग, इंफॉर्मेशन क्रैमिंग नहीं, तो मनुष्य सुसंस्कृत बने, मनुष्य वास्तविक मनुष्य बने, इसको शिक्षा कहते हैं। वो शिक्षा मिलती है तो मनुष्य विष का भी उपयोग दवाई के रूप में कैसा करना ये खोज लेता है। ऐसी शिक्षा अपेक्षित है। अपने देश की शिक्षा बहुत पहले लुप्त हो गई, लुप्त की गई। एक नई शिक्षा पद्धति इसलिए लाई गई कि हम लोग सदा विदेशी आक्रमकों के या विदेशी हमारे उस समय जो शासनकर्ता थे, हम उनके गुलाम थे, उनकी गुलामी में हम सदैव बने रहे। इस देश पर उनको राज्य करना था, इस देश का विकास नहीं करना था, और इसलिए सारी जो प्रणालियां उन्होंने बनाई उसमें हम इस देश पर राज्य कैसा कर सके इसको ध्यान में रखकर उन्होंने बनाया। उन्होंने इस देश को जीता था, इस देश को उनको अपने अधीन रखना था, उसके लिए जो करना है वो उन्होंने किया। लेकिन अब हम स्वतंत्र हो गए तो हमको राज्य चलाना केवल नहीं है, प्रजा पालन करना है। उसकी मानसिकता निर्माण होना, उसके लिए आवश्यक वो सारी जानकारी भूतकाल की भी बच्चों को मिलना, जिससे उसमें ये गौरव पैदा हो सके कि हम भी कुछ है, हम भी कर सकते हैं, हमने करके दिखाया है। ये सब परिवर्तन होना आवश्यक था। थोड़ा बहुत होते होते पिछले सालों में और इसका अवेयरनेस ज़्यादा बढ़ा है, और इसलिए नई शिक्षा नीति में ये सारी बातें लाए, ऐसा प्रयास चल रहा है। कुछ बातें हो गई ऐसा मैं सुन रहा हूँ, कुछ बातें होने वाली है, लेकिन शिक्षा में ये प्रणाली इस प्रकार बदलना, प्रशासन में भी इस प्रकार की प्रणाली बदलना ये आवश्यक है। उदाहरणार्थ मैंने सुना, अब वो पुरानी बात है, अब होगी ऐसा नहीं। नागपुर में, मैं नागपुर का प्रचारक था, तो एक सज्जन आ गए, वहाँ इनकम टैक्स कॉलेज है, केरल से आए थे, IPS कैडर के थे। वो कार्यालय ढूंढते ढूंढते आ गए, और मुझे अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी से मिलना है, तो हमारे कार्यालय प्रमुख लोग यहाँ नहीं मिलेंगे। नहीं, यहाँ से उनके पास मेरा संदेश जा सकता है। तो वो जनसंघ का कार्यालय, नहीं उस समय बीजेपी थी, बीजेपी का कार्यालय है, वहाँ जाइए। तो उसने कहा वहाँ गया था, वहीं से यहाँ भेजा है। तो अब क्यों भेजा मुझे मालूम नहीं, मैं नागपुर का प्रचारक था, इसलिए मुझे मेरे सामने ही उनको भेज दिया। मैंने कहा आपको अटल जी से काम क्या है? तो मुझे एलएक्यू करना है। क्या है एलएक्यू करना है? तो उनका मैं केरल से आता हूँ। केरल में हम लोग अपनी वेष्टी मुंडू वो लपेट के, एक कुर्ता पहन के, हाफ शर्ट अथवा फुल कुर्ता वो पहन के हम ऑफिस में जाते हैं, ऑफिस में काम करते हैं। पुलिस वाला हूँ इसलिए कभी कभी वर्दी में जाना पड़ता है, जाता हूँ। यहाँ मैं आया, नागपुर इतना गर्म प्रदेश है, गर्मी के दिन भी थे वो, मैं ऐसे ही वेश में गया तो मुझे डांटा गया कि यू हैव टू फॉलो दी एटिकेट्स और ड्रेस कोड है। तो मुझे लगा ठीक है, तो मैंने जाकर खादी भंडार में कुर्ता पैजामा जैकेट सब खरीदा, वो पहन के गया। उनका ये नहीं चलता है, ड्रेस कोड ऐसा है, पूरा सूट चाहिए, कोट टाई वगैरह वगैरह सब। तो मुझे ये समझ में नहीं आया कि यहाँ नागपुर में गर्मी के दिनों में ये कैसे चलेगा भाई? हम तो उबल उबल कर आलू हो जाएंगे अंदर ही अंदर। तो मुझे एलएक्यू करना है कि ये कब बदलेगा। तो जब मैंने फिर उनको बताया अटल जी को, क्या पत्र भेजो, वहाँ दिल्ली में जाओ, यहाँ से वो बीजेपी का कार्यालय अलग है, बीजेपी अलग है, हम अलग है, सब समझाया। वो मान गए, अच्छे थे, गए होंगे पता नहीं, लेकिन इसकी चर्चा मैंने की तो लोगों ने बताया कि हमारे प्रशासनिक सेवा में ड्रिंकिंग एटिकेट्स सिखाए जाते हैं। अब ड्रिंकिंग एटिकेट्स ठीक है, पाश्चात्य देश, ठंड देश है, वहाँ ये उपाय करने पड़ते होंगे, तो वहाँ उसका एटिकेट भी है। हमारे यहाँ फॉरेन सर्विस में जो लोग जाते हैं शायद उनको ये ट्रेनिंग लेना पड़े, लेकिन सदा सर्वदा सबको ये सिखाने की क्या जरूरत है? तो कुछ परिवर्तन होना चाहिए। सब ऐसा ही है ऐसा मैं नहीं कह रहा हूं। स्वतंत्रता के बाद कुछ तो बदला ही होगा, क्योंकि अब लोगों का पालन भी करना है, लेकिन अभी भी गुंजाइश है। तो वो सारे परिवर्तन होने चाहिए और इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा अप्रेंसिव होने की जरूरत नहीं। सब जगह अपनी परंपरा की, अपने मूल्यों की, अपने मूल्यगत आचरण की, यानी संस्कृति की शिक्षा देनी चाहिए। वो रिलीजियस नहीं है, वो सोशल है। हमारे रिलीजन्स अलग अलग हो सकते हैं, सोसाइटी के नाते हम एक है, ये समझकर वो कॉमन है। जैसे माता पिता को सम्मान देना, ये किसी रिलीजन में इसकी मनाही है क्या? बड़ों के सामने नम्रता रखना, अहंकार के अधीन नहीं होना, आदि आदि बातें एक विशेष है और अलग दिखती है। दूसरी जगह दूसरा है, उसके वहां कारण होंगे, उसके कारण होगा वो, मैं उसको खराब नहीं कह रहा हूं, लेकिन अपना अच्छा है। तो ये शिक्षा मिलनी चाहिए और ये एक तरह से यूनिवर्सल है, बहुत थोड़ा अंतर है। गुड मैनर्स दे आर नियरली यूनिवर्सल। बस भोजन करते समय हाथ से भोजन करना कि नहीं, ये अलग है, लेकिन ऐसी छोटी बातें छोटी छोटी यूनिवर्सल है। तो इंग्लिश नॉवेल्स आप पढ़ेंगे तो ये नहीं मिलेगा ऐसा नहीं है। हम अंग्रेज नहीं है, हमको अंग्रेज नहीं बनना है, लेकिन इंग्लिश एक भाषा है, भाषा सीखने में क्या दिक्कत है? हमारे घर में, हमारा 3 पीढ़ी से संघ का घर है और इन संस्कारों की वगैरह कोई कमी हमारे घर में नहीं है। मैं 8वीं के क्लास में था तब पिताजी ने मुझे ऑलिवर ट्विस्ट पढ़ाया, प्रिजनर ऑफ झंडा पढ़ाया, अनेक इंग्लिश नॉवेल्स में पढ़ चुका हूं। इससे मेरे हिंदुत्व प्रेम में रत्ती भर भी अंतर नहीं आया है, नहीं आता है। एक भाषा के नाते जो कथा वस्तु है उससे बोध लेने के नाते हम पढ़ते हैं तो उसका दुष्परिणाम नहीं होता। लेकिन हमने ऑलिवर ट्विस्ट, चार्ल्स डिकन्स का पढ़ा और प्रेमचंद की कहानियां छोड़ दी, ये ठीक नहीं है। हमारे यहां भी है, साहित्य की कितनी उच्च परंपरा है, रामायण महाभारत से लेकर उपनिषदों की कथाएं देखो, आज तक चलती आ रही। हर भाषा में एक लंबी अच्छी परंपरा है, वो सीखना चाहिए और इसकी शिक्षा सब में मिलनी चाहिए, क्योंकि मिशनरी स्कूल हो, मदरसा हो, कुछ भी हो, रिलीजियस एजुकेशन एक अलग बात है, लेकिन सोशल मेरिट के नाते हमारा सबका सिलेबस एक है। वो भारत की परंपरा है, प्राचीन काल से चलती आई है। जैसे श्रीमान आरिफ बेग आए थे, मैं नगर प्रचारक था अकोला में, विजयादशमी उत्सव के अध्यक्ष के नाते वो आए थे, तो उन्होंने कहा था कि इस देश की परंपरा कैसी है, सबके लिए कितनी अच्छी है। तो उन्होंने उदाहरण दिया था कि अलंकार सुग्रीव और अन्य वानरों के पास मिले, वो सीता जी के है कि नहीं पहचानना था। लक्ष्मण को बुलाया कि तुम भी पहचानो, उसने कहा मुझे केवल पैर की पंजनियां दिखाओ, क्योंकि मैंने कभी सीता जी के मुख की ओर दृष्टि नहीं डाली, मैंने हमेशा उनके चरण ही देखे। अब इसमें जो एक संस्कृति झलकती है वो कितनी बड़ी है, वो सबकी समान है, उसकी शिक्षा सब में होनी चाहिए। उससे हमारा रिलीजन मार नहीं खाता, उल्टा अधिक अच्छा बनता है, ये समझना चाहिए और ये संस्कार सब में होने चाहिए। ठीक है, आपकी जितनी ताकत है, मेरी जितनी ताकत है, मिशनरी स्कूल में वगैरह जब होंगे तब होंगे, मेरे घर में तो होने चाहिए ना, यहाँ से हम शुरू कर सकते हैं, वो करना चाहिए। और हमारे यहाँ अभी जो नई शिक्षा नीति में पंचकोशीय शिक्षा का तत्व मान्य किया है, उसमें सभी कोशों का विकास, सर्वांगीण विकास, उसमें कला, क्रीड़ा, योग, ये सब है। तो धीरे धीरे इसको विकसित करना पड़ेगा। जैसा मैंने कहा कि विपरीत शिक्षा में हम इतने आगे गए थे कि एकदम उड़ना संभव नहीं, तो टर्निंग शुरू हो गया है, वो रुके नहीं, चलता रहे और पूरा टर्न होगा, उसको समय लगेगा। इसलिए करिकुलर गतिविधि नहीं, प्रत्येक मनुष्य को कला का अंग चाहिए। संगीत नृत्यम कला विहीना साक्षात पशु पुच्छ विषाणहीना, ऐसा कहते हैं। जिस मनुष्य को संगीत, नाट्य, नृत्य कला का अंग नहीं है, सभी का नहीं, किसी एक का, उसमें वो ट्रेंड ही होना चाहिए ऐसे नहीं, लेकिन अच्छा गाना समझ में आना चाहिए, सुर कान को पकड़ में आनी चाहिए, बुद्धि को नहीं समझे चलता है, इतना भी हो गया। ये भी जिसका नहीं होता वो कौन है, तो बिना पूछ सींग वाला पशु है, ऐसा अपने यहाँ कहा है परंपरा में। तो ये तो होना ही चाहिए, लेकिन इसमें एक अनिवार्य ये विषय जो है उससे काम नहीं होगा, ऐसा मुझे लगता है। क्योंकि मेरा अनुभव जो है, आप जिस बात को अनिवार्य करते हैं उसकी प्रतिक्रिया होती है। और छोटे बच्चों को, एक आदमी को कुत्ता था, उसको दवाई पिलाने को डॉक्टर ने कहा, और कहा कैसे पिलाएं, तो ये आसान है, उसको पकड़ो, घुटने में पक्का बंद करो, हिलेगा डुलेगा नहीं, फिर यहाँ दबाओ तो मुंह खोलेगा, दवाई डाल दो और मुंह बंद कर दो, और जब तक वो निगल नहीं लेता छोड़ो मत। पहले दिन उसने कुत्ते को पकड़ा कि सब किया, तो कुत्ता जान गया, दूसरे दिन भी किया तो कुत्ता जान गया कि 8 बजे ये दवाई पिलाता है, तो वो भाग जाए, फिर उसको पकड़ के लाना पड़े तो छटपटाए, ये करे वो करे, कभी काट ले कुछ, लेकिन इसने तय किया था। ऐसा 3-4 दिन हो गई खटपट, उसके बाद एक दिन वो कुत्ते के झटके से वो दवाई की कटोरी गिर गई, तो सारी दवाई जमीन पर गिर गई। फिर इसने छोड़ दिया, गाली देते देते, उसने देखा कुत्ता जाकर दवाई चाट रहा है, यानी वैसे देते तो वो ले लेता। तो ये कंपल्शन का ये भी परिणाम होता है, उसको हर आवश्यक। संगीत जैसे विषय में, नाट्य, नृत्य, इन विषयों में ये मनुष्यता का एक स्वाभाविक झुकाव उसमें रखता है, उसको जागरूक करना पड़ता है, कंपल्सरी नहीं करना पड़ता है, इसकी टेस्ट लगानी पड़ती है, वो होना चाहिए। वो घरों में भी हो सकता है, विद्यालय में और अच्छी तरह हो सकता है। हमको संगीत की रुचि कैसी लगी, हमारे चाचा गाते थे, अच्छे गीत गायक थे, रेडियो स्टार भी थे। उनके चलते उनके अभ्यास के लिए घर में रिकॉर्ड्स आती थी, वो हम चाहे न चाहे वो सुननी पड़ती थी, सुनते थे। कविता सिखाने वाले शिक्षक कविता हमसे गवा लेते थे, तो हम सारा क्लास मिलकर गाता था एक एक कविता। और अपनी भाषाओं की कविता में वृत्त छंद होता है, उसमें एक स्वर रहता है, तो उससे हमारे कान तैयार हो गया, स्वाभाविक आकर्षण पैदा हो गया। तो ये होना चाहिए। आज हम उस जीवन से अपने परिवार को दूर लेके आए हैं, ये सब हमारे यहाँ नहीं होता, वो होना चाहिए। विद्यालय में भी ये होना चाहिए। कभी कभी विद्यालय के सिलेबस में ऐसी कविताएं होती ही नहीं कि जिनको गा सके, और सुंदर सुंदर कविताएं हैं। ये सब देखना पड़ेगा, केवल कंपलसरी करने से काम नहीं होगा। वैदिक काल की 64 कलाएं जो रिलेवेंट है वो सिखानी चाहिए। गुरुकुल शिक्षा को मुख्य धारा उल्टा करना चाहिए, मुख्य धारा को गुरुकुल शिक्षा से जोड़ना चाहिए, क्योंकि अपनी गुरुकुल शिक्षा है ना, वैसा ही मॉडल शिक्षा का फिनलैंड में है, और फिनलैंड शिक्षा में दुनिया में अग्रणी देश है उस शिक्षा पद्धति के कारण। उस शिक्षा पद्धति को चलाने वाले शिक्षकों की अलग यूनिवर्सिटी उनकी है, और उस देश में बाहर से बहुत सारे लोग आते हैं, क्योंकि वहां जनसंख्या कम है, तो वो लेते हैं सभी देशों के। तो जितनी भाषाओं के लोग आते हैं उतनी भाषाओं में 8वीं क्लास तक शिक्षा वहां होती है। 8वीं क्लास तक मातृभाषा में शिक्षा होती है, और 10 छात्रों पर एक शिक्षक एक शिक्षिका। पहले 4 क्लास उनके साथ रहना और घूमना, यही काम होता है, क्लास वर्क नहीं होता है। बिल्कुल गुरुकुल पद्धति के पास वाली है, केवल